Hello, my name is Starla Henderson with Fronter House Quilts, and last week I showed you my video on how I make my circles. Now once you've made those circles, you want to take them and sew them, applique them onto your flowers right in the very center and cover up those points. That way, and I did this on purpose, that way if your points don't come together the way you like them, you cover them up. That's one cool thing about applique. You can cover up a lot of things that you don't like with something that you do. But once you've got that done and you've got your bias strips all made, you're ready to start laying out your quilt. And when I did this different from designing this quilt than I have ever done before. I started with my flowers, and I just made those just to see if I could doing this technique and doing it by hand. And then they turned out so pretty, I really liked them. I thought, I've got to put these on a quilt. I think that would make a good winter sampler. So I just started doing what I'm going to tell you how to do. I actually had a whole flower just like this. This is what I've made during our demo that we've been working on these last few weeks. And I took the 3 flowers and I took my piece of fabric, and this one I think I actually had it cut at 26-inch square, but you can cut it how big or how small you want. You can make as many of these flowers as you want, or as few. And I just started laying them all over the quilt until I figured out what I wanted. And once I had an arrangement that I liked, I then pinned it in place. You could glue it in place, but I'm still a pinner when it comes to this kind of thing. And the papers are still in at this point. You don't remove your papers yet. I started pinning it in place, and then I took my bias strips and I started playing with those until I again had an arrangement that I liked, and I pinned those in place. And then I sat down and, using the same stitch that we used whenever we appliqued all of these pieces together, I appliqued all the way around each one of these and appliqued all of these bias strips down. And then I had this square with my quilt on top. Then, because I did this kind of backwards the way I usually do, I couldn't find a fabric that would match this green. And so I looked and looked and looked for a long time. That's why I didn't get my border done right away, until I found this in a quilt shop not too far from here. And so that's why it took me a little while to get my border done. But this part was fun. It was easy. Now, if you want to do it like what I have, this layout, then as you're tracing your pattern, if you've done it just the way I've talked you through it, then you can lay your pattern down on a light box, lay your fabric on top of it, center it, and place these where the pattern has them. It might not look exactly the way mine does, just because the way I designed this, I didn't start with that pattern first. I start with a drawing, the way I usually do, but you're going to come up with, it's going to look really, really close, and I think you'll really like it. But I encourage you to try and just play with it, to be creative. Let your imagination take charge. That's what I really like about this technique, is I end up with a whole piece that I can put anywhere on here, and I can make it however I want it. And you can too. So try that. See what happens. Have a little fun and express yourself and your own creativity a little bit that way. But that's the way I laid out this quilt, and I hope that you have fun doing it. I would love to see some pictures, so send me some pictures, put them on so I can see them on my website, or put them on my Facebook page, Fronter House Quilts. And be sure and subscribe to me on YouTube, so you'll get a notification every time I upload a video. But that's how I laid this quilt out, and I think it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, and I hope you do too. Thank you for joining me. This is Starla Henderson with Fronter House Quilts.